Our first limited Glacier character and brand new sub DPS Zhezhi will be dropping in a couple of days, which I'm sure quite a lot of you will be looking to pick up. So with that, I'll be going through the Ascension and skill upgrade materials required to max out Zhezhi, her best team synergies, viable weapons, echo builds, and ultimately, if you should summon for Zhezhi. Just before we jump into it, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now as for Zhezhi's Ascension and skill upgrade materials, kicking it off will be 29 green Howler cores, 40 blue Howler cores, 52 purple Howler cores, and 61 gold Howler cores. Given you can acquire these cores by farming for echoes in the open world, many of you should have enough already for a couple characters at least. But if you are lacking on these cores, there's a few ways to pick them up. As usual, the best way to pick up Ascension materials would be to head into your guidebook and track down all of the enemies that drop Howler cores. Of course, you can be even more efficient by tracking down all of the enemies within the Freezing Frost set first, since you would be picking up Howler cores as well as echoes for Zhezhi's best in slot set. Another way to pick up some Howler cores instantly would be through the weapon shop, where you can pick up 60 green Howler cores and 20 blue Howler cores. But as always, I wouldn't recommend picking them up unless you are desperate for a few more, since it would cost a total of 180,000 credits for them. The final way to pick up Howler cores would be through forgery challenges, so once you are farming for Zhezhi skill upgrade materials, you also will be able to pick up some Howler cores. In regards to Zhezhi's skill upgrade materials, she will need 25 green helixes, 28 blue helixes, 40 purple helixes, and 57 gold helixes. Also, you'll need 26 monument bells from the Bellborn weekly boss, 46 soundkeeping tacit cores from the Lampy Lumen open world boss, and finally 60 lantern berries. The only area where you can pick up lantern berries would be in Tiger's Maw, so if you do require a few more, you would be able to exchange 45,000 credits for 15 per week at the pharmacy. Now moving on to Zhezhi's team synergies. As I mentioned, Zhezhi will be a Glacio sub DPS character, and the main aspect of her kit would be dealing Glacio coordinated attacks and increasing resonant skill damage through her outro skill. So with that, there's no surprise with Zhezhi's best team consisting of Jinxi as the main DPS, Zhezhi as the sub DPS, and Verina as the support. It is essential for Jinxi to have a sub DPS character capable of dealing coordinated attacks, as they would allow Jinxi to obtain stacks of incandescence much quicker than without one. So along with being able to deal Glacio coordinated attacks, Zhezhi will be able to enhance Jinxi's main source of damage, being her resonant skill. So Zhezhi is pretty much tailor-made for Jinxi, meaning if you do have Jinxi, you would likely need to obtain Zhezhi to provide Jinxi with her best in slot sub DPS. Of course, there are alternative options for Jinxi that can deal coordinated attacks such as Yinlin, but the resonant skill damage bonus outro skill would be much more valuable for Jinxi. So with Verina being the best support in the game, this team would be able to fully utilize Zhezhi's kit, which makes it her best team overall. Now along with Jinxi, the queen of personality, Changli, is also a resonant skill damage scaler. So Changli as your main DPS, Zhezhi as the sub DPS, and Verina as the support would be another great team composition. Considering Changli and Yinlin are already a great duo, Zhezhi would naturally be a great fit on a team with Changli. However, just like with Jinxi's case, the resonant skill damage bonus would be much more valuable than the resonance liberation damage bonus from Yinlin. So depending on how smooth Zhezhi's rotations are, she also might be a better choice for Changli than Yinlin. That being said, Yinlin would still be a top tier sub DPS to pair with either Changli or Jinxi, and more specifically, if you use both Changli and Jinxi as your main DPS characters in Tower of Adversity, having both Zhezhi and Yinlin beside them on individual teams would be ideal, as they work very similar to each other. But of course, the team that has Zhezhi would allow the main DPS to deal more damage due to the resonant skill damage increase from the outro skill. Another character that would synergize with Zhezhi would be our Crimson Head 4-star Danjin. Considering Danjin is capable of spamming her resonant skill in exchange for HP, naturally Zhezhi's outro skill would provide significant value. Additionally, Danjin as a main DPS will require a ton of heal time. So Zhezhi being able to deal coordinated attacks would allow Danjin to have much more heal time than other sub DPS characters. So Danjin would synergize extremely well alongside Zhezhi, meaning any Danjin mains would definitely want to pick up Zhezhi. Now those teams would be the more popular ones for Zhezhi, but just like Yinlin, Zhezhi will be an extremely flexible sub DPS character. so you would be able to slot Zhezhi into nearly every team, since she would be dealing off-field damage to provide the main DPS with as much field time as they would like and boost their resonant skill damage. They don't necessarily even need to be resonant skill damage scalers like Jinxin and Changli, since every character is capable of dealing resonant skills. But of course, the characters that can inflict multiple resonant skills like Danjin and Calcharo, or characters that deal damage scaling of resonant skill damage like Jinxin and Changli, would benefit much more than every other character. As for Zhezhi's viable weapon choices, as always, the signature weapon will be the best in slot since it's tailor-made for the character. And as for what Zhezhi's signature weapon is capable of, it provides a massive 72% crit damage main stat, which is completely absurd since it's the largest boost in crit damage out of every weapon and is made for a sub-DPS character, along with providing a 12% attack increase and up to an additional 36% basic attack damage increase for 6 seconds after dealing 3 resonant skills. Lastly, when Zhezhi's outro skill is activated, it also buffs the on-field resonator's basic attack damage by 52% for 25 seconds. So just as Zhezhi would benefit significantly from this weapon, so will the main DPS with a massive basic attack damage bonus increase. Meaning this weapon allows Zhezhi to open up to more team synergies with characters that deal lots of basic attacks such as Havoc Rover and even Yangyang. Now, very similar to Yinlin's situation, Zhezhi is likely going to be a character that will have a great amount of longevity. So pulling for this weapon would be even more worth it over weapons for characters that may be power crept soon. So of course it would be an amazing weapon to pick up, but there are some alternatives that are also great for Zhezhi. If you have picked up Yinlin's weapon specifically, it would be a great enough weapon for Zhezhi so that you can skip the signature, as it provides a huge 36% crit rate boost, along with increasing Zhezhi's attack by up to 24% when activating 2 resonant skills that deal damage and an additional 12% when off-field. So considering Zhezhi is able to deal multiple resonant skills just like Yinlin, which is hinted from her own signature weapon, and being able to deal coordinated attacks which allows her to utilize the additional attack buff when off-field, would make this the next best weapon after Zhezhi's signature weapon by far. Another alternative would be the standard banner 5-star rectifier Cosmic Ripples. It wouldn't be anywhere near the previous 2 5-star weapons, but due to its increase in energy regen by 12.8%, the 16% basic attack damage bonus increase and a 54% attack main stat, it would be a solid alternative overall, allowing Zhezhi to ult more often and deal good basic attack damage. As for the 4-star alternatives, you have the Augment, which can provide up to 20% crit rate as the main stat and a 15% attack boost once you activate the Liberation. However, it is a battle pass weapon, so there is a paywall. The last resort would be the Jinzhou Keeper, which provides a 36% attack main stat and increases attack by 8% and HP by 10% when the intro skill is activated. So this weapon can provide a slight boost in attack and would be the last weapon with a viable main stat. So these would be all of the viable weapon options for Zhezhi, with of course the signature weapon being the best choice by far. However, since Yinlin's weapon is amazing too, you can definitely use it on both Zhezhi and Yinlin, since you wouldn't ever have the both of them on the same team. Now moving on to Zhezhi's echo builds. Zhezhi, being a Glacier character, would benefit the most with a 5-piece Freezing Frost set. The 2-piece effect provides a 10% Glacier damage bonus, and the 5-piece effect provides an additional 30% Glacier damage bonus after dealing basic attacks or heavy attacks. So naturally, Zhezhi's abilities will deal the most damage when paired with the Freezing Frost set. Since there is only one 4-cost echo in the Freezing Frost set, it means the only echo build would be the 4-3-3-1-1 build, and as for the stats to prioritize, you would want either crit damage or crit rate on the 4-cost, glacial damage bonus on the 3-cost, and attack percent on the 1-cost. Now for the main echo, the Lampilumin would be the obvious choice since it provides up to a 12% glacial damage bonus and a 12% resonant skill damage bonus from the echo skill effect. Additionally, it does freeze enemies in place, but the entire echo skill animation is slightly time consuming, which is the only downside. So with that, a much quicker alternative would be the Lumi Scale Construct, which is a 3-cost echo. On skill activation, you will enter a parry stance and will counter any attack from the enemy, dealing a massive 600% glacial damage swing. So for much quicker rotations, you might want to opt for the Lumi Scale Construct, but both options for the main echo overall are great. Now if you don't have the full 5-piece Freezing Frost set built, you can use a 2-piece Freezing Frost set alongside either a 2-piece Lingering Tune set, which will provide a 10% attack boost, or a 2-piece Moonlit Cloud set, which provides a 10% energy regen increase. So you would have the option of using these echo builds once you aim to complete the full Freezing Frost echo set. Now the important question, should you summon for Zhezhi? Ultimately, it really depends on your account. Since if you have Jinxi, then Zhezhi becomes an extremely valuable character that you should pick up, as she would definitely be Jinxi's best in slot sub DPS. Aside from Jinxi, there's characters like Changli and Danjin that would majorly benefit alongside Zhezhi, but wouldn't gain as much value as Jinxi would. So you would have reason to pull for Zhezhi if you main Changli or Danjin, but even more of a reason if you main Jinxi. Additionally, if you don't have Yinlin on your account, you would have even more of a reason to pull for Zhezhi since they are both alike, as Zhezhi would be a great sub DPS character overall which can slot into many team compositions, since the ability to deal off-field damage and increase resonant skill damage will be useful for nearly every DPS character. However, even if you do have Yinlin, you would still have reason to pull for Zhezhi, since Tower of Adversity does require us to use 3 different teams, so having both Yinlin and Zhezhi on 2 different teams would majorly benefit the main DPS characters. Lastly, Zhezhi will also have a ton of longevity due to her role as a sub DPS character, meaning you would be pulling for a character that can carry your account long term. Now if your account doesn't have either Jinxi or Changli and you already have your teams built up, along with there being no character to replace for Zhezhi, then of course you can comfortably skip. But just bear in mind, Zhezhi will be able to synergize with a ton of team compositions and will benefit your account for sure, whether that's now or later down the line. So it is completely down to you, as you would only know what's best for your account. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on whether you will be summoning for Zhezhi or will you be skipping. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.